Welcome to the Fearlessly Authentic Sash and Soul Podcast. In each episode, we'll explore the power of embracing authenticity with a winning mindset and overall well-being to help you navigate life and the pageant world with confidence and resilience. I'm Rayanna Johnson, former Miss Wisconsin and founder of Fearlessly Authentic Coaching. So let's dive in. Welcome to Sash and Soul. You guys, Sash and Soul is back. Welcome. Oh my gosh. It feels like it has been forever since recording an episode for all of you. The last one was episode number 30, where we interviewed Miss America 2015, Kira Dixon. And I'm floored. You guys still have been listening to the show. And it's just like, I can't even tell you how much that means to me, that you are interested in what I have to say and invested in yourselves enough to be coming back every week and wanting more. So hopefully you are just as excited as I am for Sash and Soul to be returning. It's going to be a really good year. And, that's what we're going to talk about this episode is we're going to talk about, recap from 2024 and diving into 2025 and what this year is going to look like for you, how to set up your vision for yourself. And I'm going to share some stuff that I've been through that is really shaping what my vision for 2025 looks like for me. So hopefully that will be helpful for you as you're listening. So let's dive in. Let's talk about 2024. I had somewhat of some good times in 2024, but I'm not going to lie to you. It was a rough year. It just seems like ever since 2020, which was the dooms year that everybody said was just the worst year, I just don't feel like I've bounced back completely. Every year just seems to be kind of filled with yuck. So it was a pretty rough, especially second half of 2024 for me. My family experienced a really tragic loss in our immediate family. And I'm not going to go into details about that because it's a pretty sensitive topic. But if you're one of my clients or you know me, you'll know what I'm talking about. But that really clouded the rest of my year, my family's year, with very intense grief within that loss. And then I had some personal health issues that I will get into a little bit later, as well as we kind of talk about how to maintain your own well-being and health as you set up your vision for 2025. Because I learned a lot through those health issues, and I'm still learning as I continue healing. I also experienced some unexpected changes in Fearlessly Authentic that required me to pivot, and it also required a lot of healing because it was rough. It was not exactly what I thought was going to happen within my program and the leadership within my program, but that's why we pivot. That's why we know that, that resilience that you have built up over things that you've been through can get you through those types of things. So that wasn't ideal. But let's dive into the highlights of 2024. Obviously, one of the biggest highlights was the launch of Sash and Soul last March. So some key things with that. We had only 30 episodes. In those 30 episodes, we interviewed 3 national title holders, which was so much fun. Over 4,500 episode downloads. You guys, kudos. Thank you so much. We've reached almost every state, almost all the 50 states. We've been in 37 countries and territories. And even though Sash and Soul went on this hiatus, you guys still continued listening. And I'm so grateful for you. In 2024, I also launched the Fearlessly Authentic app, which you should download if you haven't yet. You can find it in the iOS and Android stores. The Fearlessly Authentic Mastermind, or the FAM as we call it, grew exponentially, and we had one of the most successful years for the Fearlessly Authentic clients. Just really proud of them and so grateful that they have given me the opportunity to work with them and be a part of their journey to success. I also had, this was crazy, you guys. I had my first international coaching inquiry, which was wild to me. It was the craziest thing. Nothing has come of it yet. But I was just like, man, did I make it? Because literally someone from across the world is reaching out to me asking about Fearlessly Authentic. It was just so cool. And then a personal highlight for me is my husband and I had our 1-year anniversary trip to Italy, where we went to Rome and we went to Sorrento and Positano and Taormina, and for 2 weeks. It was just the most glorious, beautiful trip. So really grateful for that. So with all of that said, I definitely learned a lot in 2024 about staying in my own lane. Because I wasn't staying in my own lane, I experienced some burnout by the end of competition season that really had me questioning what direction I wanted to take with my business. I was seriously considering stepping away from coaching pageant clients because I was way too emotionally invested in the things that I can't control, and just really getting frustrated with some of the things within the pageant industry and leadership, and honestly, just not in my lane. I set out to coach women on mindset, communication, and service because I wanted to empower them in their own right and their own capabilities to succeed. And that's where I want to stay, that lane. And even though I continue to grow and my vision changes and my branding gets updated and I have new programs and everything coming out, I still want to maintain that value of staying in my own lane, protecting my peace while I, continue my mission of helping young women from all walks of life. I also know that my burnout was coming from really high expectations of myself. And because I had those high expectations of myself, that was followed with a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, especially when I was going through a rough patch of both mental and physical health issues, because I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be or expected myself to be. I was really hard on myself, and I felt so much of that guilt that I think it prolonged my healing experience too, because I couldn't just release that energy. And that's part of our 2025 vision conversation coming up as well. So after all of the challenges and the crap that I went through last year, my intentions for 2025 are to focus on the joy of creativity, which I've started doing, especially this week. I'm healthy again and feeling a lot better. So I'm diving in, and I've been waking up, stepping out of bed, and coming to my computer, and I've been sitting here all day, which is really refreshing for me, because there was quite a few months there that I was avoiding this space in my house at all costs. And that didn't really help the confidence or self-esteem very much, because I just felt like a potato. So I'm going to focus on creativity and the joy of creativity. And I also want to focus on my clients and coaching really incredible clients from all over the place. I know that is my joy. That is my passion. I truly love you guys. And I love the perspectives that you bring to the table when I'm working with you. And I love the group conversations that we have in the mastermind, and that's what's fueling me. And so I'm going to stay focused on that. So I kind of mentioned some of these physical health issues in 2024, and unfortunately, they followed me into 2025, which is bringing me to the new year, new vision point in the conversation for health and well-being in general. So In October and November, I had 3 separate emergency room visits and a whole heck of a lot of conversations with my doctor's office. And I'm not going to give a whole lot of the details about like the personal health stuff that I was going through. But this physical health scare on top of grieving this family tragedy, like really, really upset my overall and mental well-being. And just when I thought that I was through that and we're starting, Happy New Year, January 2025 on a fresh start, I found myself again back in the emergency. I was there 2 days in a row, and then that led to an overnight stay in the ICU. Really, really scary. I lost consciousness a couple of times. My husband was there. My blood pressure dropped. They called in a stat team. It was like, sounds really, really dramatic, but like it was actually really, really scary and overwhelming. And last week, I just spent the week being grateful and recovering and taking it easy and asking my husband every time that I had to go up or down the stairs so that I didn't fall. And it was just like, it was a lot, you guys. Like sometimes life really, really hits you hard. So I really had to let a lot of things go near the end of 2024 when it came to business growth and like all of my ideas and my plans and my intentions for 2024. I had to be really flexible and just kind of like step aside from that and really had to practice as much grace and radical acceptance of my circumstances and my capabilities as I possibly could. Because I am an emotion first being in that I like there's like 3 modes of operation. There's operating from your emotions, operating from your thoughts, or operating from action first. And my primary mode of operation is emotional. Which honestly like makes a whole lot of sense about like my personality. And I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. If you know what that means, it's like one of the most emotional personality types on the Enneagram. So action is like either second or third on my list of modes of operation. So it's really difficult for me to turn off my feelings and to focus on tasks. So self-care was really, really imperative. So for me, my healing has looked like a lot of extra rest and extra hours of sleep. I've also been going to therapy, if not weekly, then every other week, and really maintaining that schedule with my therapist so that I'm keeping myself in check with someone that is objective and a professional. I have been focusing on doing as much healthy physical activity as I can possibly muster. But when that goes out the window, trying to practice healthy nutrition and hydration. So the basics, like that's where my self-care was in order for me to heal and get back to functionality for myself where I can start taking action and actually like being productive. So with all of that yuck comes like a necessary mindset shift. When you're through the trenches and you're really trudging through it, there's a necessary mindset shift. And I mentioned like having to practice a lot of grace and radical acceptance of your circumstances and capabilities. And when I say practice, I know that I've talked about this before on Sash Soul. Practice doesn't mean perfect. Practice means like you're actually practicing the act of giving yourself grace, practicing the thoughts associated with giving yourself grace and radically accepting where you're at. Practice is not going to mean that you're going to be great at it. Practicing it does not mean that it's going to instantly make you feel better by any means. Practicing it, it's a slow, it's a slow progression. And I mean, for not really knowing how to explain it better, like you have to have grace about giving yourself grace. It's one of those things that's so difficult to explain. But practicing the grace and radical acceptance plus leaning into this like like this really deep faith that like I know I've been through hard things before and I've bounced back, and so I will bounce back again. And then the other piece of that faith for me is really learning, at least in hindsight, that I appreciate the trudging through the yuck that I've had to do, because I see how much I've grown and the person that I've become because of it, and the value that I provide the world because of the things that I've been through. So when you're going through it, it's a lot more difficult to practice that appreciation and that gratitude for how much you're growing and how much you're changing in that yuck. But for me, leaning into that faith really allows me to see it even when I'm going through it a little bit, which helps a lot, because like you can't rush healing. It takes time. It's not a linear process, but you can certainly slow it down by being more hard on yourself and being frustrated with the circumstances and not recognizing that you will bounce back. Just not knowing maybe when that bounce back is going to happen. And that's the frustrating piece, right? Like we as human beings want to have control over things that we are uncomfortable about. And when it comes to like physical or mental health, and you're in a place of illness or injury, that takes time, and that's not something you have complete control over. You only have control of the things that you can do about it, which is practicing grace and radical acceptance, doing the self-care stuff with the extra rest, therapy, physical activity, nutrition, the basics. So now that we've kind of assessed 2024, and it was a rough one for me. I'm hoping that yours was way, way, way more better. But with all of that yuck came a lot of growth. And with that personal growth comes new vision, which also means I gotta change some things up within Fearlessly Authentic, and subsequently all the other programs associated with my brand. So personal growth equals brand growth. So after reflecting on last year and like the roller coaster even of 2023, was that I have changed significantly because my life has forced me to change. And then my biggest realization is that I need my business to change with me. So 2025 for me is a year of rebranding with a new vision and brand new projects that actually reflect the person that I am today. Evolving as a person fuels success in business, in pageantry, and leadership, in all these aspects of your life. I feel like even go back to like episode 16 of Sash Soul, where I talked about service initiatives and building your platform. I talked about how my platform needed to evolve with me and needed to change and grow with it, reflecting on where I was at that point in my life. So when I first started competing, my initiative was drug use prevention and awareness. And I was, hitting the ground running with trying to prevent addiction and tragedies like what my family experienced of losing my older brother, Tyler, to methamphetamine. And ultimately he ended his life in August of 2005. So I was like so gung-ho on changing and saving the world and saving people in my community from this tragedy. And I burned myself out. Like I did that for 3 years. And as much as I would say that doing that work was helping me grow, or helping me heal rather, I don't know that it actually was. I think it was keeping me stuck. And I reached a point of like essentially breaking. And that's when my mom told me that I needed to let it go. I needed to walk away and lean into some of my other passions, which for me at the time, I was in college and I was really into my women and gender studies courses. And so empowering women just seemed like a natural initiative for me to dive into. And so I launched Empowering Women, Mind, Body, and Soul. And that was where I healed, working in that space of empowerment and community and creativity in a more positive, uplifting light that wasn't so deeply rooted in my trauma was actually very healing for me. And I found a lot of success with that initiative. I lightened up so much, like the weight off of my shoulders, that's when I saw real success at Miss Wisconsin as first runner-up that year. And then a couple of years later, when I came back as my last opportunity, I was in a place of really wanting to bookend my experience of competing. And so I relaunched kind of my original initiative, but updated to Tyler's Legacy, the impact of substance abuse on the family. And that too was an evolution of like trying to save the world when it first started, to just wanting to build connections with people and not feel as alone, and inspire people to take care of themselves, and inspire people to understand that their actions affect other people. And I had some of the most empowering and memorable experiences and privileged experiences of people telling me about things that they were going through in their lives that that they probably just didn't share with people. But because I was so willing to be vulnerable about my experiences, I opened the door for them to feel comfortable with me. And it was such an epic experience that, looking back, I use that example now with all of my clients and with all of you to encourage you to like assess where you're at with your initiative. I have a couple of clients that we have completely changed their initiative, their platform this year, because it was draining them. It wasn't giving them life. And B, like it wasn't really a reflection of who they are and what they're deeply passionate about today, or even like where they want to go with their life. So don't be afraid to change what you're working on so that it reflects on exactly who you are now. I think the other really solid example for me in terms of like recognizing that evolving as a person is going to fuel your success in all other areas was my competition journey. So my first year, I competed for Miss Wisconsin 4 times. My first year I was green. I was a newbie. I was the youngest contestant I had just turned 18, and I had so much fun. I went in and it was confidence building and it was intimidating, but like I didn't really have any expectations of myself, and I just like let it go. And I was pretty successful. My first year I was a top 10 finalist, and it just like it lit that fire for me to come back and help me see that I was capable of achieving that. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was actually capable of achieving something much bigger than myself, and being able to like take that next step to making an impact throughout my entire state, not just the communities that I live in. And then the 2 years later, I took a break in between. 2 years later, I came back, and I was too confident. It was like my second year of college. I had braces in between, during that year off. And I came back to Miss Wisconsin that year, like really thinking I was like top dog, which was like, it's so embarrassing to say now. But I was a brat. Like I was too confident, but externally confident. I actually had a lot of inner insecurities that like personified in my behavior, in that like I was overcompensating for the comparison that I was doing with the other girls, and these high expectations that I have of myself. It was a rough year. I was successful in that I won swimsuit preliminary and talent preliminary. So then of course that's like fueling my ego even more. I'm like, oh, I'm for sure going to win. But I got an ego check when I didn't make top 5. So I was a top 10 finalist, but I didn't break into top 5 even as a double prelim winner, which, sidebar, you guys, prelim awards don't really matter. Okay, and sidebar. So I walked away from my second year at Miss Wisconsin, like recognizing how much I like shot myself in the foot by being so overconfident, but also not really facing my insecurities. And something needed to change. I needed to change. And that's when I found the coach that I worked with that completely changed my life in terms of how I communicate, how I approached interview, set me on the right direction, the right path towards a healthier mindset in competition, and was ultimately like one of the biggest reasons that year that I was first runner up at Miss Wisconsin, my third year there. I was a different person, you guys. So you see how success is going to follow your personal growth if you allow it. And if you lean into even the things that, like the setbacks and the mistakes that you may have made, the obstacles, like the embarrassing experiences that you just like can't get out of your mind, like those things all actually cause this beautiful change in you that will drive you towards success as long as you allow it to. And then long story short, Miss Wisconsin won Miss America that year. I got to take over for 6 months, had, hands-on experience of the job, came back 2 years later as a college graduate and won Miss Wisconsin and earned my chance to go to Miss America, which is, a whole nother story. And I'm pretty sure there's a podcast episode about it. But so back to like this personal growth and your vision for this year. You want to make sure that your brand and your vision is growing with your own personal growth. So with that, your own objective self-assessment is critical. And when I say objective, I mean non-judgmental, right? I'm embarrassed by how I behaved my second year at Miss Wisconsin and probably the reputation that created of me. But I can look at it objectively and see that mistakes were made, but it was an opportunity for me to grow and change because I don't want to be that person. How will you know what kind of person you want to be if you don't know what kind of person you are right now objectively? So that's really important, but it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be hard. That goes for your self-assessment, and that also goes for growth and life and doing things. Like, it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be painful in order for you to grow. Baby steps are still going to get you where you're going. And then it's also necessary to take those giant leaps and challenge yourself. It's in taking those leaps of faith, in stepping outside of your comfort zone. That's where growth happens too. It doesn't have to be trauma. It doesn't have to be yuck. I know that we glorify like the people that took the path less traveled, but we don't have to have bad experiences in order to be awesome and grow. So all that being said, I have recognized that the value that I bring to my clients and to Fearlessly Authentic and to Sash and Soul is my experience. However, my experience led to this burnout, and at the same time led to this epiphany of how much more value I can provide in my programs because I'm objectively assessing and looking at the experiences that I had last year, the mistakes that I maybe made, the opportunities that I had but didn't take. The value that you bring through your leadership opportunities and pageantry is going to come from your experiences. And I mentioned, your setbacks, your mistakes, the obstacles you've faced and overcome, the trauma you've experienced, and also your achievements and your education and like all the successes that you've had. Like, we have to look at the whole big picture to see like who you are and what you bring to the table, what value you bring. So with that being said, I want you to reflect on your experiences from 2024, and I want you to use those experiences as you develop your vision for 2025. In 2025, are you finally going to launch your own podcast because you've been thinking about it and wanting to forever, but maybe you've been too afraid? Are you going to change or update your service program to reflect what you're passionate about, regardless of what the judges or anybody else might think? Are you going to find a new job because what you're doing right now is draining you and it's keeping you stuck? What are you going to do in 2025 because of what you experienced in 2024? Change is necessary to continue to grow, but you have to bring that growth with you in all things to find true, constant success. So, with all of that being said, I'm going to do the big things in 2025. I had a lot of big expectations of myself last year, but none of them were really fun. And so I have a sticky note on my computer with all of my 2025 projects. And you guys, I'm going to go all in. Like it's going to be awesome. And I've already started this week. And like I said, like I've been at my computer, just like hungry for more opportunity to pour my heart and soul into the work that I'm doing. So really excited. So with that, here's what's coming up for Fearlessly Authentic in 2025. We've got new content. We've got exciting collaborations. We've got expansion plans, like all the things. So first and foremost, one thing that you've already been seeing on Fearlessly Authentic on Instagram and like throughout, like on the app, is that I've been updating my branding to reflect the woman that I am today, not the woman that I was when I launched Fearlessly Authentic. So that's going to include a new website, which is in the works. I'm also working with a digital content creator. I'm so excited. We have our first meeting on Monday. I'm going to up-level my web presence. I'm going to have really beautiful, professionally done videos. That's going to bring more of the Fearlessly Authentic content right to you guys. And so that more people can explore the program as well. Like I'm geeking out over it. I'm so excited. I am also this may be really exciting for some of you who want to finally launch your own podcast. I am working on the pilot stage of a brand new coaching program to help you bring your voices to the world through Legacy Podcasts. So long story short, the name of my business is actually Legacy Presentations, and it came from my platform. Here's another, story about evolving with change. My platform is Tyler's Legacy, and I wanted to bring the word legacy in because so much of my work had to do with sharing my personal story through the loss of my brother and other traumas that I had experienced in life with my platform. And through Legacy Presentations, my ultimate goal was to bring other voices to the table and share lived experiences and inspiring stories. And so one opportunity for me to do that is through launching Legacy Podcasts under the Legacy Presentations umbrella, so that maybe you could launch your own podcast about the things that you are passionate about and build a community around that. I'm also going to be adding resources to the Fearlessly Authentic app in the All Access membership. The All Access membership is it's a subscription, a monthly subscription. It's $99, but you can try it out for a 7-day free trial. There's lots of different valuable things in there. But I'm going to be adding, working on like daily interview questions for you, because I know that that's always like a top priority, is like part of interview preparation is diving deep into big issues and thought-provoking topics and like understanding yourself better and how to describe like your leadership qualities and the person that you are today. So those daily interview questions will be really awesome in the All Access membership. I'm also adding a Fearlessly Authentic's favorite book list, because I have like all of these self-development books that I love and that I just want everybody else to dive into because they're, they just have changed my perspective so much. And of course I have other ideas. And then I am launching monthly live masterclasses for you guys, so that maybe you can't afford like a coach consistently, but you want a little bit extra just to up-level your preparation, up-level your life. I'm offering these virtual live masterclasses once a month. Each of them has a theme. I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit. But just to wrap up this idea of, new year, new vision, is that it's really important to stay flexible. Okay. So this is kind of my final message to you about setting your vision for 2025. Like, I know that my vision is going to shift, like all these beautiful ideas, like my interests might change a little bit. I'm probably going to get tired. And I'm also obviously like too well aware that life happens. So staying flexible is really important, because when you're flexible, you go easier on yourself, which means that then there's less pressure on yourself. When there's less pressure, you open yourself up to more creativity and much more energy. And so when you have that energy, learning how to then manage your time and your energy in tandem, ultimately, you're going to get more done. So flexibility is incredibly important. Okay. So Back to the masterclass. If you want to dive in and actually do some of this work about setting your goals and your vision for 2025, the very first masterclass is happening on Tuesday, January 28th. That's going to be from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time or 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and the other time zones. Do the math because I can't do that right now at the top of my head. So this masterclass is going to include proven strategies to set your goals and set goals that actually stick. You'll also work on a step-by-step roadmap to create a vision that inspires action. And we're going to talk about mindset shifts to stay motivated and to stay on track. So this very first masterclass on January 28th is the inaugural masterclass, and I want to offer it to you completely free of charge because I want you to head into 2025 with the intention of absolutely crushing your goals and having a solid plan that's going to help you do that. Okay. So don't miss out on this opportunity. There are limited spaces, but you can sign up at the link in this episode overview, or you can check out the Fearlessly Authentic Coach on Instagram for more updates. DM me, of course, if you have questions. And then you can find the monthly masterclass schedule on fearlesslyauthenticcoach.com. I'm going to have all of the topics listed there so you can kind of plan ahead for your year and see like if there are certain masterclasses that you absolutely want to sign up for. It's going to be great. Like all the master classes are all outlined. It's all ready to go. The only thing left is for you guys to show up and to like experience them yourselves. So, oh my gosh, this has been fun. It's so good to be back. As we wrap up this episode, I have been ending each group coaching call with the main takeaways from the session. And today, my main takeaway is to set a really big vision for 2025 for myself with the permission to be flexible in accomplishing my goals. So if you got some really good takeaways, or if you want to share your intentional goals with me, feel free to DM me. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and share Sash and Soul with your friends. Let's build this community of empowerment and healthy mindset and success. And of course, sign up for the January Masterclass. All right. Okay, you guys, let's make 2025 the year we grow fearlessly and authentically all together. So until next time, which is next Friday, stay bold, stay you, and thanks for listening. Bye. Have you downloaded the Fearlessly Authentic app? Because I'm so excited to share this all-in-one space for competition prep designed just for you. Within the app, you'll find free resources like the Winning Mindset Workshop, goal tracking, and a supportive community. Plus, sign up for a 7-day free trial of the all-access membership to explore additional resources like live coaching clips, monthly live workshops, guided meditations, daily practice interview questions, and so much more. Click the link to download for free. This is not just an app, it is pageant prep support at your fingertips.